Alright everyone, Adam here. So, it has been another couple days. Again, I apologize. I've been sick. I'm trying to recover. Mostly recovered, but it still feels a little... Anyway, so today's question also comes from Twitter, and today's question is, essentially, how do I train around issues, chronic issues, like fibromyalgia, bursitis, etc.? So, first off the bat, I'll say I'm certainly no expert when it comes to working with those particular issues. At the same time, no matter what it is that you're trying to work around, the main strategy and the main focus in your exercise routine should be to find stuff that you can do that that's not going to, bother things or make things worse. When that comes to injury, that means trying to avoid stuff that will cause you pain, trying to avoid stuff that will re-injure you. So you want to avoid any motions that feel weird or awkward, or make you feel more pain either during the exercise or in the days recovering from it. When it comes to more specific conditions, things can get a little bit dodgier because again, it's oftentimes we don't have a lot of experience working with people that have specific medical conditions, and sometimes the knowledge out there is kind of scanty. It's not very good. For example, we know a lot about exercising at high blood pressure, and there's some pretty simple guides for that, which is basically that you want to avoid putting your head below the rest of your torso because that's going to cause blood rush to your brain. You want to avoid holding your breath for too long. You want to avoid, super heavy strength stuff for that reason. And of course, if you're on blood pressure medication, you have to avoid, using heart rate as a reliable estimator to determine how much work you should do when it comes to cardio, simply because blood pressure meds kind of mess with your body's mess with your heart rate a little bit, and so they can make it look less than it actually is. And what that means is that if you're thinking that you have to train to a certain intensity, a certain heart rate, and you're trying to push it there and you're not making it there because you're working a lot harder than someone else would be who wasn't using those meds. Now at the same time, I did go ahead and do a little bit of quick research, and I will say that one thing that certainly does help with a lot of people, and it's particularly useful with the elderly. It's also particularly useful with anyone who has joint issues, serious joint issues, injuries, etc., is water-based exercise. And that's why you always see all these seniors doing their, their pool exercise, whatever. And it might feel a little bit weird if chances are that if you look for, some kind of pool exercise class, all you're going to find is some senior thing at, the local YMCA or whatever. But the thing is that when you are exercising in water, it's much better for your joints and for your body. The reason for that is that when you're, let's say I'm doing a bench press, I'm working at the chest muscles. All of the weight is located in, whatever, the dumbbell or the barbell or whatever I'm holding onto with my hands. And so it's pushing, downwards, the force of gravity downwards. And all of the resistance is coming at me that way. So the force is relatively concentrated, to a certain few specific points in the joints that are handling that weight and moving it around. Now, let's say that I did a push-up underwater. Not that you're going to be doing push-ups underwater. That's not a good idea. But let's say that you're doing that. Where is the resistance coming from? Where is the weight? What's happening is that the entire, the resistance is your body moving against the entire body of water around you. So instead of being, limited to a few specific points where, the force is getting transferred, instead, the weight is being distributed across the whole body. So if I'm, moving my arm through the water, obviously I'm feeling resistance. I'm pushing against something. I'm certainly, working those muscles. But the resistance is spread out across my entire arm because the surface of my arm pushing against the water is, in fact, what's creating the resistance. And training in water is completely different than training on land. That's why swimmers don't tend to get super jacked or anything because, that's not what it's about. But it's completely different than training on land, but it still allows you to strengthen and use those joints. It allows you to get moving without, without having anywhere near as much of a risk of causing damage. So that's a great thing. That allows people who have compromised joints, joint issues, joint pain, etc., to work out without having to worry about, hurting themselves or, or increasing the amount of pain that they're feeling. So that is an amazing exercise modality for a lot of people that's not used, unfortunately, as much as it should be. Unfortunately, there's not as many pool exercise programs as there should be. Swimming is a good option, and just kind of doing water aerobics is great too. That's an awesome thing you can do. And the number one thing I like to say about exercise is that there is a small percentage of the population for whom exercise is a bad thing, and I don't deny that fact. It's certainly possible that there are people for whom exercise is a bad thing. They shouldn't be doing it. But the vast majority of people, virtually everybody else out there, exercise may suck at first, and it may suck harder if you have specific issues to work around, and that may take longer. It may take a little bit more experimentation. It may take a little more getting used to. It may take a little more effort to get to that point. But it's always better in the long run. And if it's better in the long run, you should do it. It sucks. It does, particularly, again, working around specific issues. But it does help in the long run. And if it didn't, you wouldn't, you shouldn't do it, but you should. You absolutely should. Everyone should exercise. It should always be an option. It should always be a thing that you're trying to do. So, you should try and do something. Even if it's a very small amount, try and do something. Something is better than nothing. So, as always, like, comment, share, tell me what you want to see in future videos, and I will talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.